There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Friday, July 3rd, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is flat, just up 0.06 in the past 24 hours, with a last of 9,100, a high of 9,164, and a low of 8,950. That's $1 for 10,988 Satoshis. Volume was a little low for a Thursday with 2,780 Bitcoins trading hands. The market continues to lean long at 81%, and Bitcoin dominance is at 65.12%. And now, a brief reading from It Can't Happen Here. Actually, It Can Happen Here. That makes more sense. By Sinclair Lewis. This is my fancy 1930s original edition that I bought on eBay or Amazon for like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. Not that much. But here it is, Sinclair Lewis writing to you from the past. That night he had a party, which, for a novelty, rather shocking to his intimates, he actually had girls present, performing certain curious dances. The next morning, Hayek rebuked him, and Saracen had a hangover, was stormed at. That night, just a month after Saracen had usurped the presidency, Hayek struck. There was no melodramatic dagger and uplifted arm business about it. This time, though Hayek did traditionally come late, for all fascists, like drunkards, seemed to function most vigorously at night. Hayek marched into the White House with his picked stormtroops, found President Saracen in violent silk pajamas among his friends, shot Saracen and most of his companions dead, and then proclaimed himself president. Hector Magoblin was fled by aeroplane to Cuba. Then on, when he was last seen, he was living high up in the mountains of Haiti, wearing only a singlet, dry, white drill trousers, grass sandals, and a long tan beard. Very healthy and happy. Harder to read. Very healthy and happy, occupying a one-room hut with a lovely native girl, practicing modern medicine and studying ancient voodoo. When Dewey Hayek became president, then America really did begin to suffer a little, and to long for the good old democratic, liberal days of Windrip. Windrip and Saracen had not minded mirth and dancing in the street so long as they could be suitably taxed. Hayek disliked all things on principle, except perhaps that he was an atheist in theology. He was a strict Orthodox Christian. He was the first to tell the populace that they were not going to get $5,000 a year, but instead reap the profits of discipline and the scientific totalitarian state, not in mere paper figures, but in vast dividends of pride, patriotism, and power. He kicked out of the army all officers who could not endure marching and going thirsty, and out of his civil branch all commissioners, including one Francis Tasbro, who had garnered riches too easily and too obviously. He treated the entire nation like a well-run plantation, on which the slaves were better fed than formerly, less often cheated by their overseers, and kept so busy that they had only time for work and for sleep, and thus fell rarely into the debilitating vices of laughter, song, except war songs against Mexico, compliant or thinking. Under Hayek, there were less floggings in posts and concentration camp. For his direction, officers were not to waste time in the sport of beating persons, men, women, or children, who asserted that they didn't care to be slaves on even the best plantation, but just to shoot them out of hand. A terrifying vision of the future from the past, from Sinclair Lewis. It can't happen here. Because I'm sure it can't. Things have changed so much since the 1930s. Nothing's like that at all anymore. No, certainly not. And now the Bitcoin news. Set your alarm. Most Bitcoin is now traded during these hours. The start of trading in New York appears to impact Bitcoin volatility much more than other stock markets. Bitcoin traders are changing their habits in 2020, but volatility is still dominated by the start of the New York stock market trading. According to data currently circulating on social media, volatility for the fledgling cryptocurrency is highly correlated by the opening of U.S. markets. By comparison, London and Asia stock markets opens have considerably less of an impact on Bitcoin volatility. Can we just halt Bitcoin trading during Asia and Euro hours? Major trader Haska quipped, uploading the findings, which are related to the previous few days on the U.S. exchange Coinbase. As you can see from the chart right here, volatility, 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 and volatility, all when the U.S. stock market opens. Further data shows that at present, around 4 p.m. UTC marks the most intense time of day for Bitcoin trading. Again, using Coinbase in addition to Binance, Skew finds that midweek is also more intense than the start or end of the working week. Weekends, as is often noticed, are quieter still. As an example, over the past 30 days, Coinbase saw an average of $6.5 million in volume between 3 and 4 p.m. UTC. The quietest hour, 9 a.m., saw just $2 million. Those times correspond to around 12 p.m. Eastern Time, or 2.5 hours after New York markets officially open. Bitcoin seems timed with the stock market now. Bitcoin miners saw a 23% revenue drop in June. It's almost as we just had a Bitcoin halving, and the amount of rewards given out by the Bitcoin block reward cut in half, from 12.5 to 6.25. 23% is actually less than 50, so not that bad. Tesla market cap is bigger than Bitcoin. This seems to be a trend. Amazon CEO Bezos now has more money than Bitcoin. That's not to say he could buy it all, though, as if he tried to, the market would go up until he doesn't have enough funds. Bitcoin's price correlation with the S&P 500 hits record highs. No surprise here following the story that Bitcoin is traded more actively during the New York stock market times means obviously that Bitcoin is tighter correlated to the S&P 500. It's pretty obvious why this is happening if you look backwards in time. Originally, the first Bitcoin investors were mainly libertarians and cypherpunks. They didn't have a lot of money in the stock market and they weren't used to tracking it or looking at it all the time. Now, a new class of Bitcoin investor and trader has entered the market and they're well into the Bitcoin and the normal stock market. This connection between investors has led the price of Bitcoin to crash when the stock market crashes and to roar upward when the stock market roars upwards. It's almost like they're connected. Crypto bull Anthony Pompliano just convinced comedian Bill Burr to buy Bitcoin. Great job by Pompliano, who appeared on Bill Burr's podcast and by the end had convinced Bill to get Bitcoin. Great job, Pompliano. Bitcoin startup Zap is working with Visa. That's right, and you can try it out right now. Just yesterday, Jack launched Strike Public Beta. A new Bitcoin era is born. Download Lightning Strike Beta, available for all. Your debit card can now pay Lightning invoices. Your bank account now speaks Bitcoin. And you can try it out at beta.strike.me. It's available on the Apple iPhone. Not sure if it's on the Android yet, but you have to download the test flight program from Apple so you can try out a new program because it is still in beta. And it worked good. I tried it out. There was some minor problems. It didn't seem to work. They say it's US only right now. And even though I'm a US person, it didn't accept my phone number the first time. Eventually, I figured out I had my VPN on. So they were likely rejecting me because I seemed international. So I switched it back to normal, tried it again, and I had success. I was able to buy $20 of Lightning with my bank account. Then I sent it to Fold app and bought a $20 Nintendo gift card. I didn't have to wait. I was able to link my accounts right there. Obviously, this is KYC. Lightning Strike is kind of like a bank or a Coinbase or whatever, where you want to... you have to have it connected to your proper accounts and so on and so forth. So no doubt I'm definitely going to pay tax on this $20 purchase at some point in the future. But I did just spend it, so that can't be that bad. And it looked just like this when I tried it out. I was using the Lightning Network, and He-Man was there, and he said, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the Lightning Network." Something like that. And then I went over to the Nintendo Switch game section, one of my favorite parts of the Switch. And what do you know it? They had Duke Nukem on sale for $5. So I was able to buy the Duke Nukem game with Bitcoin and Lightning. It worked. Here's a video of me playing the game. Later on, I went to the movie theater in Duke Nukem. It's a little racy if you can handle the pixels. But what a great game, Duke Nukem. It runs way faster than on my PC. It was funny to hear the same sounds from Doom. So much interaction, though. The mirror works. The light switch works. They even had a security camera system that I spied on. It was way ahead of its time. As Vegiano says, "Man, that is one of my all-time favorite games. I bought it too yesterday. Hail to the king, baby." So check out Lightning Strike. If you've been looking for a reason to try out Lightning, maybe you have an Apple phone and there weren't that many options to you, this is a way to actually buy the Lightning. I didn't have to know anything about channels or rebalancing channels. I went over to the Fold app. I created an invoice for $20. I copy and pasted that invoice back into the Lightning Strike program. It sent the $20 almost instantly. Then I had the gift card, put the gift card number into my Switch, and boom, I bought an item with Bitcoin and Lightning using Lightning Strike. So it's very cool. Definitely recommend if you're new to Bitcoin or Lightning or you never tried it, give it a try. It was pretty easy. And now I can play Duke Nukem. So pretty sweet. Check out the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. I just got my dual logo mug yesterday. It's pretty cool. It's great to drink out of and other things. I don't know. It's a mug. So there you go. This one has both the old and new logos. So if you're into World Crypto Network history, it's your chance to own a dual logo item. In the future, we'll probably just be going with the new logo. So operators are standing by at worldcryptonetwork.store. Check out the World Crypto Network audio podcast, wherever audio podcasts are heard. I just updated it this morning. Looks like it's still rolling out, but check it out on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, and more. The World Crypto Network audio podcast. Price of Bitcoin seems to have gone up just a little bit since we started this show. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.34% in the last 24 hours. With a last of 9,109, a high of 9,164, and a low of 8,950. That's $1 for 10,978 Satoshis. Volume was 2,730 Bitcoins traded. How Trump could lose the election and still remain president. An article from Newsweek. Let's skip straight to the important part. Trump actually tweeted on June 22nd, rigged 2020 election. Millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times. With this tweet, Trump has begun to lay the groundwork for the step-by-step process by which he holds on to the presidency after he has clearly lost the election. Get ready. Number 1, Biden wins the popular vote and carries the swing states of Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania by decent but not overwhelming margins. Number 2, Trump immediately declares that the voting was rigged, that there was mail-in ballot fraud, and that the Chinese were behind a plan to provide fraudulent mail-in ballots and other election hacking throughout the 4 key swing states that gave Biden his victory. Having rallied against the Chinese throughout the campaign, calling Biden soft on China, Trump delivers his narrative claiming that the Chinese have interfered in the U.S. election. Trump indicates that this is a major national security issue, and he invokes emergency powers, directing the Justice Department to investigate the alleged activity in the swing states. The legal justification for the presidential powers he invokes has already been developed and issued by Attorney General Barr. The investigation is intended to tick down the clock towards December 14th, the deadline when each state's electoral college electors must be appointed. This is the very issue that the Supreme Court harped on in Bush v. Gore, in ruling that the election process had to be brought to a close, thus forbidding the further counting of Florida ballots. All 4 swing states have Republican control of both their upper and lower houses of their state legislators. Those state legislators refuse to allow any electoral college slate to be certified until the national security investigation is complete. The Democrats will have begun legal action to certify the results in those 4 states and the appointment of the Biden slate of electors, arguing that Trump has manufactured a national security emergency in order to create the ensuing chaos. The issue goes up to the Supreme Court, which, unlike the 2000 election, does not decide the election in favor of the Republicans. However, it indicates again that the December 14th electoral college deadline must be met, that the president's national security powers legally authorize him to investigate potential foreign country intrusion into the national election, and if no electoral college slate can be certified by any state by December 14th, the electoral college must meet anyway and cast its votes. The electoral college meets, and without the electors from those 4 states being represented, neither Biden nor Trump has sufficient votes to get an electoral college victory. The election is thrown into the House of Representatives, pursuant to the Constitution. Under the relevant constitutional process, the vote in the House is by state delegation, where each delegation casts 1 vote, which is determined by the majority of the representatives in that state. Currently, there are 26 states that have a majority Republican House delegation. 23 states have a majority Democratic delegation. There is 1 state, Pennsylvania, that has an evenly split delegation. Even if the Democrats were able to pick up seats in Pennsylvania and hold on to all of their 2018 House gains, the Republicans would have a 26-24 delegation majority. This vote would enable Trump to retain the presidency. And that's how it's going to happen. Get ready. Herman Cain has tested positive for COVID-19 after appearing at the Trump rally not wearing a mask in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The University System of Georgia is planning to put students in classrooms in 6 weeks. They will not require students or anyone to wear masks and are even forbidding instructors from wearing masks in their individual classes. Meanwhile, cases in Georgia continue to grow up and to the right. A new poll has Biden up by 2% in Texas. That's amazing. Charleston mayor says the healthcare system is overwhelmed. If we aren't afraid, we should be. This is a Category 6 hurricane, and we can't evacuate. Please take this seriously. Robert Reich says, when and how to reopen should never have been seen as a contest between public health and the economy. Reopening too soon and too carelessly, as we're doing, is imperiling public health. This will prolong the economic downturn. The Earn It Amendment, which seeks to ban strong encryption, allowing your bank accounts, private emails, and everything to be read by anybody, just went out of committee and to a floor vote. There are amendments on it to protect encryption, so it's not the same version, but the bill is still a total mess. This total mess of a bill just passed the committee unanimously. Nobody would take a stand for strong encryption in the committee level. Get ready. Nevada Health and Human Services is reporting 13 new deaths related to COVID-19. House Democrats working with Liz Cheney restrict Trump's planned withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan and Germany. That's good news. Breaking news, Moderna plunges 9% after a report says their late-stage coronavirus vaccine trial has been delayed. Remember Moderna, they made a big deal about having a vaccine, saying it would even be here by Christmas, saw their stock go up something like 80%, and then they didn't seem to have a vaccine. They just had a really good stock. Tammy Duckworth says she will block the Senate approvals of 1,123 senior U.S. Armed Forces promotions until Acting Defense Secretary Esper confirms in writing that he did not or will not block the expected and deserved promotion of Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who of course testified against Trump at the impeachment hearing. 2 Hong Kongers have taken a protest banner to the top of Mount Everest. The flag represents the popular slogan, "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times." You'll note they're not showing their faces, God bless them. But yes, a beautiful message for Hong Kong, which of course, if you live there, you should get out. England's offering 3 million visas. Taiwan has been offering visas. Get out of Hong Kong. At the beginning of the pandemic, Trump said he thought the virus would simply go away on its own. Now, after 125,000 dead Americans, he says it will still magically disappear. There hasn't been a more incompetent president since Herbert Hoover. Or, as House Member Adam Schiff says, or am I being unfair to Hoover? A week ago, we had all-time record temperatures in Siberia. Now it's followed predictably by an explosion of wildfire. Siberian forest fires increased 5-fold in the week since a record high temperature was found in the region. The Richmond mayor, Richmond, Virginia, has ordered the removal of all Confederate statues standing on city land. It's about time. Put them in a museum. Put a plaque up. Let people read the plaque in the context of the museum. That's where statues should be. Especially political statues put up in the 20s and 40s and other times and 60s to try to scare black people. We could do without those. They could do without those. Everyone could do without those. The George W. Bush Super PAC says it's suspending all operations with the GOP as long as Trump is running. They will move all funds to help elect Joe Biden. That's Republican George W. Bush Super PAC. In case you're keeping score. Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee, we talked about this. The Trump administration just lent a troubled trucking company $700 million. The company was only worth $70 million. Brian Tyler Cohen says, "I'd like to report a looting." Does seem like there was a looting there. A locked account that Wednesday follows just pointed out that the 5 million people about to be evicted will be ineligible for voting because of mismatched addresses in November. Get ready. And another powerful Trump advertisement. This one, the dangerous ones from Act Blue. Let's take a look at this new advertisement.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. So help me God.
Let the television burn, babe. There's a riot in the street.
If you have been waiting to break glass in case of emergency, we are there.
At their feet. We felt a change, but ain't it a shame how it all turned out?
You know what I am? I'm a nationalist.
It was a long time coming. It's a little late night.
I will teach my grandkids to
They're
hate
gonna
one.
stack up the dead till they block out the sun. These white boys with money make the whole world run.
Can anyone on the Republican side say unequivocally Black Lives Matter?
You and me, brother, we're the dangerous ones. You and me, brother, we're the
You should have done belonging. I got a daughter right here. She's 18 years old. 18. She's the first to have voted. Ain't no burn first.
So let it burn, let it burn, let the motherfucker burn. It's election day.
We have to fight until the end, though, brother. We got to go down swinging.
We are the first generation to be able to say,
I guess it's gonna burn either way.
you can't tell me nothing.
Well, the shots been fired, but the war ain't won. These white boys with money better learn how to run. Oh, I'll hit you back, the blood hit your tongue. You and me, baby, we're the dangerous ones. You and me, baby, we're the dangerous ones.
My daughter said if I was 18, I would have been out there doing it, so get your butt out there and vote. She's 17. She's telling me what to do. So I had to do it. Black voters matter. That fed my spirit. You know what? I'm grateful that I came out. Because I matter.
A powerful advertisement from Act Blue. More good news for the Lightning Strike and Zap programs. They have a deal with Visa, so they're going to have a real debit card with real rewards for the real world. That's a lot of reals. But take your Strike app shopping with you anywhere at any time. Very cool. Hope to get a Zap Visa card soon. Sounds good. And yes, this is what happens when you show up at the Trump Tulsa rally where no one wore masks. Yes, Herman Cain was there without a mask. Andrew Yang says what Congress can do to avoid a new Great Depression. The longer Congress waits to offer a real lifeline to millions of us who are beyond desperation, the more radicalized the nation becomes. It's a sad story. Let's see if we can get the video. It doesn't seem to have the original video. But a California man who posted regret after attending a party died a day later of coronavirus. This is no joke, Thomas Macias wrote on Facebook the day before he died. If you have to go out, wear a mask and practice social distancing. Some of you may know, but most don't, Macias wrote. I went out a couple of weeks ago and contracted the coronavirus. Macias, who is a truck driver, expressed guilt for having possibly exposed his family to the virus. Because of my stupidity, I put my mom and sisters and my family's health in jeopardy. This has been a very painful experience. Hopefully, with God's help, I'll be able to survive this. He died the next day. Here's a picture of Herman Cain, amongst others, not wearing masks at the Trump Tulsa rally. He was a VIP. You can see from his tag, a special guest of the campaign. But still, all he took home was the virus. Herman Cain posted an anti-mask tweet the day before it was announced he's been hospitalized with the coronavirus. Herman Cain: masks will not be mandatory for the event, which will be attended by President Trump. People are fed up. And now Herman Cain is fed up. He's full of virus. We talked about lightning strike. It was very cool. I bought Duke Nukem. Hey, hey. Multiple federal law enforcement officials say that depending on what the judge overseeing today's detention and removal hearing and the Bureau of Prisons determine, Ghislaine Maxwell could be housed at MCC in New York, the same jail where Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself. Yes, it's just that funny. Right now, dozens are marching in Sanford chanting, "My body, my choice." They are protesting a mask order that went into place in Seminole County today. As Stone Kettle writes, "Except it's not your body. You don't wear a mask to protect yourself. You wear a mask to protect everybody else. Seriously, how do you dumb, selfish motherfuckers not get this?" Robert Reich reminds us that to describe June's job uptick as proving our country is roaring back as Trump did is like saying a sunrise proves that roosters are crowing more loudly. The uptick is in jobs that were reopened, many of them too soon. Now some are reclosing. What's really roaring back is COVID-19. It may be too little too late, but it's a positive move. The Texas Governor Greg Abbott has issued a statewide mask mandate in Texas. Statewide mandatory masks in Texas. You might think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are interchangeable, but no one searches for cryptocurrency. They only want to know about Bitcoin. Scott Dworkin reminds us, let's be real. Trump had to have known they were going after Ghislaine Maxwell, so he tried to fire SDNY's Jeffrey Berman and replace him with a puppet so he could cover it all up. Yes, this case is also being tried in the Southern District of New York. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. We've been talking about here for a long time how police union contracts can serve as barriers to accountability and discipline for officers nationwide. They're doing a too good of a job protecting bad cops, and it's led to a bad union. Every member of Congress needs to read this op-ed from Andrew Yang, who would also be a great vice president pick. Joe Biden and Andrew Yang. As Obama said, Biden should pick the yin to his yang and find someone that's good at computers. Ding, ding. Andrew Yang. It's very sad about Tommy Macias, 51, who took socially distancing measures into the months up to his death, but assumed that the threat was gone and went to a barbecue. He's dead at 51. Christopher Bouze says, I remember when I was criticized for using the word treason after Helsinki, and when I called Trump and his crew Nazis. Now folks in the media are starting to use both words. Welcome to the party. It took you long enough. We have an update on the Washington football franchise. Federal Express, which sponsors the stadium they play in, has joined Nike and Pepsi in asking Washington's NFL franchise to change their racist nickname. Your move, Daniel Snyder. And we have a funny post here from Samson Mao. Let's learn about the origin story of DeFi. What really happened? How was DeFi created? Samson Mao has the truth. Interesting little video there from Game of Thrones with some minor editing from Samson Mao. Funny stuff. There's been a major shift in the National Football League. The song Lift Every Voice and Sing will be played before the Star-Spangled Banner at each NFL game during Week 1. The NFL is also considering putting names of victims of police brutality on helmet decals or jersey patches. Previously, they had attacked Colin Kaepernick for peacefully kneeling during the anthem and protesting police brutality, which now is a nationwide issue. It's a guaranteed story on Fox News, etc., about this song, which they're also calling the Black National Anthem, which you know Fox News is going to call them separatists and stuff, but it sounds like the NFL is trying to do the right thing and make up for past mistakes. Or they're just pandering to players in the audience, but it's still progress, right? And yes, the FedEx asking the Washington racist franchise to change their name is a major move. They paid $205 million for the naming rights to the stadium, and they're one of the most important business partners of the team. Expect movement on this. Do it again. Oh, great. Although it may be too little too late, there's some evidence that Governor Sisolak's message to casinos has been heard loud and clear. The Red Rock Resort is now enforcing everyone must be at least 6 feet apart throughout the entire casino. No exceptions. They've also stepped up enforcement of their mandatory mask policy. No exceptions. Would have been nice to do this from the beginning, but at least Vegas is learning, although they haven't closed the bars, so they're expecting everyone from Los Angeles and Arizona to come to Las Vegas this weekend to share the virus with each other. Testing is about to reach capacity again nationally. LabCorp, the biggest lab, has the capacity for 130,000 tests a day out of the 500,000 per day, but with the run-up, cases are now running at 5-day wait times. At 7 days, testing stops being of value. We may get there soon. Governor Sisolak warns, if you want to stay open. This has been expressed in no uncertain terms to casinos and other Nevada businesses. Enforcement has been stepped up dramatically, including around 1,000 inspections yesterday alone. Pools are receiving special scrutiny, as they should. Here's an option for the Redskins. They could change the name to the Washington Red Tails. Has much of the same name. They could use the same color, and then they would be an airplane. I like it. Seems fine. Give us one reason why the Washington franchise shouldn't change their name. The NFL.
Motherfucking, down, ham, fucking, motherfucking, down, ham, fucking.
Yes, there's no good reason not to change the name of the Washington franchise. Donald Trump called himself a cheerleader for the nation, but Joe Biden says we don't need a cheerleader. We need a president, one who will lead by example, take responsibility, tell the unvarnished truth, listen to experts, and follow the science. Sounds very basic, but still amazing compared to what we have now. The trio of fires currently burning, in Arizona are bigger than Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Baltimore, Chicago, Miami, Minneapolis, and Manhattan combined. And they're going to have fireworks at Mount Rushmore tonight. Surely nothing could go wrong. Justin Can reminds us that jobs are just a construct that we've invented to make society function. More important, beautiful, and fundamental to every human life is the string of perceptions that make up every moment of conscious existence. It's easy to forget that. There were 57,000 new cases of the coronavirus in the United States today. It's getting scary. Let's see, where's the beginning of this? So I went on Twitter and I told people how I still love this band, even though no one knows who they are. The band is called The Rentals, featuring Matt Sharp, the former bassist of Weezer, who just kept making great music even after he left the band. He left after the Blue and Pinkerton albums. This album here, A Little Bit of You and Everything is the song, is not on iTunes. That means it's rare, but also sad. It's neat. And as I was searching for The Rentals, then I found out that they had a brand new album from June 2020. So just like that, I was rewarded. You speak positively of the band, and boom, you find a new album. So that's why we're best friends, Internet. You get me. Support grows for guaranteed income among America's mayors, specifically the basic income experiments led out of Stockton, California, a place that needs basic income. Yesterday, we talked about Vanilla Ice, who is going to have his show no matter what. Vanilla Ice has indefinitely postponed a Texas concert that drew fierce criticism due to the coronavirus pandemic. So you're not going to get to see Vanilla Ice. With a population of 21 million, Florida announced 10,109 new cases today. With a combined population of 2.6 billion, China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Australia, and the European Union combined are averaging just 6,760 cases. Florida's almost doubled that just today. Trump just complained that his life was so much better before he became president. So was mine. And shout out to my mixing board. It's the first birthday of my mixing board. I got it about a year ago while I was traveling. Someone showed it to me in Amsterdam. The guys over at D Bitcoin Show. Shout out. And such a great board. I just had to get it. Covered it with some stickers since then, but still working great. A very nice mixing board. It's the Rode Podcaster board. A lot of people probably have this, and it's great. Southern states like Texas, Florida, and Arizona dared a pandemic virus to hit them in the face. The pandemic virus obliged. Bette Midler historically famous singer, writes, Trump finally wore a mask the other day, and he said he felt like the Lone Ranger. But the Lone Ranger's mask had 2 eye holes in it, while Trump's mask only had 1 asshole in it. Killer joke by Bette Midler. Funny stuff. And the trillion-dollar question, why are COVID cases increasing while deaths are decreasing? The answer is simple. It's called Simpson's paradox, and it's the result of incorrectly pooling data and arriving at a false conclusion. As he says in his threat, the truth is simple and horrifying. We are about to have dozens of New York cities around the country. The next 8 weeks are going to be brutal, no matter what we do. ICUs overflowing, ventilators rationed, hundreds of thousands of deaths. Unfortunately, the virus is still here, and we've failed to manage it with misstep after misstep from the beginning. I have no agenda. I'm a doctor, a scientist, a tech founder, a husband, and a father. I'm simply sad that it's come to this. Stay safe. And Christopher Bouzet agrees with me. He says, I'm watching Morning Joe, and they're discussing how Trump will try to remain in office after he loses the election. I keep saying he'll do it, especially after this past week. I believe Democrats are making a huge mistake, relying solely on the election. The problem with the election is it's the last tool you have. If the election goes, you have nothing else. It's better to get him now, then have an election. Boris Johnson's government refused to back down after China warned of consequences if he presses ahead with an offer for a home in the United Kingdom for millions of Hong Kong residents. Yes, it's time to get out of Hong Kong. Get out of Hong Kong, go to the United Kingdom, go to Taiwan, go to anywhere but Hong Kong. Atlantic City is leading the way forward, saying that gamblers will not be allowed to smoke, drink, or eat anything inside the casinos. They will have to wear masks while in public areas of the casino, and they will have their temperatures checked upon entering. If Las Vegas really wanted to reopen and didn't want to become a virus super-spreading capital of the world, they would have done this. But they didn't, because people want to smoke while they gamble. And people want to drink while they gamble, which probably makes them worse at gambling. House advantage, right? Just in, the United States has reported over 55,000 new coronavirus cases in the past day. If you're keeping score at home, previously it was around 50,000 the other day. That's a 10% increase. If we had a 10% increase every day, it's going to be a lot of virus. And we talked about this as well, how the sports leagues were opening too early and risking their players' lives and potential permanent damage to their bodies, which is pretty important for an athlete. And I said that after minor league baseball took the season off, which is the right thing to do, I said and the soccer players were coming in with the sickness, and I said, wow, it's horrible. What if we had to do this for all the major sports leagues? What if we have to report on stories that say X number of baseball players, X number of football players? And now it's already happening. 9 NBA players out of 344 tested from June 24th to 29th have been diagnosed with COVID-19. It's a mistake to reopen, and it's going to be very sad to continue to report on stories like this. There's nothing we can do. They need the money. Don Winslow writes about the New Yorker piece, the Newsweek piece that we read at the beginning of the show, at least a section of. The piece is called How Trump Could Lose the Election and Still Remain President. Winslow writes, this piece scared the living hell out of me. I really think you should take a few minutes and read this. How Trump Could Lose the Election and Still Remain President. Newsweek.com. Paul Krugman jokes, experts, we are not ready to reopen. GOP, reopen, no masks. Reality, Here's your second wave. GOP, muzzle the experts. They've been wrong about everything. Well, it turns out the experts haven't been wrong. They just weren't listened to. And this is what happens. Right around in here, we told you this was going to happen. Now, look at this straight up line. It's happened. We're parallel. We're running the same as before we had any precautions at all. Meanwhile, in the EU, they're having dinner on St. Charles Bridge, traveling, living life, wearing masks. Not in America. 2 Oklahoma police officers have been charged with second-degree murder after they used tasers more than 50 times on a man who later died, according to court records. 50 times. 8 Secret Service agents assigned to Vice President Pence's detail have tested positive for the coronavirus. This is the second time the United States Secret Service agents have been infected working White House trips to hotspot states. It's predictable, and it's happened again. This is pretty sad. The Surgeon General apparently isn't willing to say that people should not have gatherings. He asks them the question multiple times and gives them a chance to just say, you should just stay home this weekend. We can have a barbecue next year. You could cook at home. You can order food delivered. You have lots of options. You don't have to go out there and spread the virus like that guy Thomas Macias in California. He's 51 years old. He went to one barbecue. His family spread him the virus, and now he's dead. He was also worried about spreading it to his family as well. Let's watch this cowardly Surgeon General stick to his talking points and refuse to say the simple answer that we all know is true. No, you shouldn't go out. No, you shouldn't go anywhere. You should stay home, wear your mask, order food, and stay safe.
Mentioned there in Kerry's story, the President of the United States hosting 2 large gatherings, one at Mount Rushmore, the other in Washington, D.C., where a few 100,000 folks are expected. Masks not going to be required at either event. We know, based on CDC guidance, that large gatherings presents the biggest problem right now. If a loved one came to you, Dr. Adams, and said, should I go to one of those events, what would you advise?
Well, thank you so much for that question, Craig. And as we go into this 4th of July weekend, it's important that everyone remembers my Surgeon General's prescription for staying safe from coronavirus. 3 quick points. Number 1, know your risk. We know that people who are older and people who have chronic medical conditions such as diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure are at higher risk for coronavirus. If you're at higher risk, you should consider staying at home. Number 2, understand your circumstances. Are you in a community where spread is going up or going down? Are you going to a place where you can social distance or not? Are you going to a place that's outside or inside? Because we know outside is lower risk than inside for spread of coronavirus.
But Dr. Adams, with all due respect, not to interrupt you, but we know that large gatherings presents the biggest risk right now. Would you advise someone to go to a large gathering? Yes or no?
Well, Craig, it's not a yes or no. Every single person has to make up their own mind. There are going to be people going to beaches, going to barbecues, going to different environments, and they have to look at their individual risk. As you mentioned, CDC says larger gatherings are a higher risk. You have to take that into account again with whether or not you're at risk, whether you live with someone who is vulnerable, and then you have to take measures to stay safe. And the most important thing I would say to people is if you do go out to a gathering or in public, please wear a face covering. As we talk about 4th of July and independence, it's important to understand that if we all wear these, we will actually have more independence and more freedom because more places we will be able to stay open. We'll have less spread of the disease.
All he had to say was no. You shouldn't go out. That's all he had to say. He couldn't bear to do it. It wasn't what his talking points said. So he stuck with his talking points. And now more Americans will risk their lives to go to a barbecue. As I said on Twitter, later retweeted by Max Kaiser, what a coward. There will be blood on his hands. And in the midst of all this protest and pandemic and 130,000 dead, Trump is tweeting about television ratings for some reason. Trump says, CNN should move Fredo back to the morning slot. He was rewarded for bad ratings with a much better time slot, and again got really bad ratings, getting totally trounced by Fox News. Give him another shot in the morning. He would easily beat Morning Joe's poorly rated show. You're president of the United States? Most presidents don't have time to watch TV, let alone worry about the ratings of different news shows. This is an embarrassing lack of concentration and yet another bizarre tweet. Do you remember that time, in the middle of 30 days of protest and a pandemic outside, when the president was tweeting about television ratings? Most presidents probably don't even know what Nielsen is. This guy is obsessed. Very strange. We do have an update on the side of the page. I can see it says, the Washington football franchise will review their name. That's right. We've reached the review phase. They will review their name. So good on you, Washington. It's never too late to make the right decision. And the United States, as we reported, surpassed 55,000 new cases of coronavirus in one day. Amazing. 12 hours ago, the Hong Kong government declared, "You cannot use these words." Holmes Chan writes, "It is tempting to think that this only targets protesters, but look at the essence. It targets language. This is a press freedom issue, and it's the duty of journalists to draw a line in the sand." Yesterday, we talked about this angry white woman who pointed a gun at a black family outside of a Chipotle. She has been charged with felonious assault. Her husband was also charged, and her husband has lost his job. So, randomly threatening people with a gun in a parking lot after a minor misunderstanding, still a crime, still assault. Trump says, still 12 hours ago, there is a rise in cases because our testing is so massive and so good, far bigger and better than any other country. This is great news, but even better is that death and the death rate is down. Also, younger people who get better much easier and faster. And we already talked about this, how the Simpsons dilemma or something. What did the guy say? Let's go back. Here we go. It's called Simpsons Paradox. And we've got more on this that we can read you here. But basically, when you incorrectly combine data sets together, you get bad results, naturally. What he says here basically is that Arizona and Texas both have the same upticks, but if you include the New York data, it completely throws off the Arizona and Texas information. So you can see here, there's a great video about it. If you pool data without regard to the underlying causality, you'll get erroneous results. So the fact that the death rates haven't taken off yet, they will, but they're going to take off in each local area. We can't confuse that by adding in other data. Simpsons Paradox. As Stone Kettle says, Trump's statement about the testing is stunning in its absolute wrongness. This is the same false worldview of Governor DeSantis, and we here in Florida are now paying the steep, steep price for this lunacy. Leaders who put political ideology over science are dangerous fools. And apparently Eric Trump has been tweeting pictures of Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein, which has led everyone to remind him that his father, Donald Trump, also hung out with Jeffrey Epstein pretty often. Here's a new video about it from Midas Touch.
Sexual predators and things like that.
You are one.
All right, say that.
Here's what Donald Trump said about his old friend Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. That has even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
Donald Trump is heard making questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
A woman had filed a lawsuit alleging Trump sexually assaulted her when she was only 13 years old.
I'll go backstage, and everyone's getting dressed. I'm the owner of the pageant, so I sort of get away with things like that.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. For the 22nd time, Donald J. Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct.
Kissed me again very aggressively.
He was putting his hand up my skirt.
She would not be my first choice.
I'm very clear on this.
When you're a star, they let you do it.
Touching my private parts.
Grab him by the...
What does he think this is? She pinned you against the wall. It was a fight. She kept the dress.
She's asking for a sample of Trump's DNA for her case.
You know about sexual predators.
A powerful advertisement from Midas Touch. Might be time to stop mentioning the Clintons and Epstein when Trump and Epstein are so closely related. Scott Dworkin writes, South Dakota governor should be held criminally liable for anyone who gets sick or even dies from the coronavirus if they catch it at this abomination as an event for Mount Rushmore. The optional mask policy is useless, reckless, and only helps spread the virus. He's a traitor. And Trump's going to Mount Rushmore tonight to spread the virus some more. That's what's really happening, and it's an abomination. The president appears to have plenty of time for golf, but there are no other events on his schedule until he leaves the White House later this afternoon to travel to South Dakota to light fires and spread virus. Get ready. David Sachs writes, if Twitter's founders had pitched the site as a place where the smartest and most successful people in the world would go every day to debate idiots, would anyone have invested? The Economist statistical model gives Joe Biden a 9 in 10 chance of winning the presidency in November. 9 in 10 from The Economist. And check out the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. You can get the limited edition dual logos, World Crypto Network, old logo, new logo, together at last on a single mug at worldcryptonetwork.store. We did it. We made it through the news. Huzzah! Happy Friday to you. I hope you have a great Friday. Try to stay inside this weekend. Try to avoid other people. Things are so bad this day. You get the slightest cough or the slightest warm feeling, and you think you've got the death virus. You probably just have a flu or allergies or just warm for some reason. But yes, it's very scary out there. Even the smallest of errands could accidentally result in your death, even when you're wearing a mask. Isn't it great? What a great time to be alive. So don't get too down. Try to have a good time. Just have a good time, socially distanced, wearing a mask, not going to large gatherings. You can watch fireworks from all over. You don't have to be that close. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And until next time, bye-bye.